At 22 years old, Alexander had already done the impossible. He had crossed into Asia, defeated Persian armies, and convinced his soldiers that destiny marched beside them. But ahead stood a challenge unlike any before. Not a city, not a rebellion, not a border, a king, the most powerful man on earth. Darius III, ruler of the Persian Empire, master of lands stretching from Egypt to India. An empire so vast, it contained nearly half the world's population. Most men would have settled for survival. Alexander wanted something else. He wanted Darius's throne, his empire, his legacy. When news of Alexander's invasion reached Darius III, he was not alarmed. Why would he be? Persia had survived for 2 centuries. Its armies numbered in the hundreds of thousands. Its wealth was beyond imagination. Alexander was merely another invader, or so Darius believed. But Alexander wasn't trying to conquer territory. He was hunting something far more valuable, the mind of his enemy. Every city he captured, every victory he achieved, every rumor he spread, was designed to create uncertainty. Because Alexander understood something few commanders understood. People do not fear armies, they fear inevitability. The more unstoppable he appeared, the less resistance he faced. And soon, the 2 kings would meet. In 333 BC, Darius finally moved, leading a massive Persian army personally. Alexander had fewer men, far fewer, but numbers rarely concerned him. What mattered was position, terrain, timing, psychology. The battlefield favored Alexander. Mountains restricted Persian movement. The enormous Persian army could not deploy its full strength, and Alexander immediately recognized the opportunity. The battle began with chaos. Persian troops pushed forward. Missiles darkened the sky. Men died by the thousands. Then Alexander saw the opening he had been waiting for, Darius himself. Alexander gathered his companion cavalry, the elite warriors of Macedonia, then launched one of the most famous charges in military history, straight toward the Persian king. Not the army, the king. Because Alexander knew something profound. Armies follow leaders. Destroy the leader, and the army collapses. The attack tore through Persian lines. Darius watched Alexander approaching, closer, closer, closer. Then he broke. The king of Persia abandoned the battlefield, and the moment he fled, the Persian army disintegrated, not because it had been destroyed, because it had lost belief. Alexander had won not only militarily, but psychologically. After Isis, Alexander became something larger than life. Cities opened their gates without resistance. Governors switched sides. Rumors spread faster than armies. Some claim he was protected by the gods. Others claimed he was invincible. Alexander encouraged every myth, because reputation was becoming his most powerful weapon. The stronger his legend became, the weaker enemy morale became. He was conquering before battles even started. But one city refused to surrender, Tyre. And Tyre would test Alexander like never before. Tyre appeared unconquerable. The city sat on an island nearly a kilometer offshore, protected by enormous walls, protected by the sea, protected by confidence. Its leaders believed Alexander would eventually leave. They were wrong. Instead of abandoning the siege, Alexander made a shocking decision. He would build a road through the sea, stone by stone, day after day, month after month. His engineers pushed forward while Tyrian defenders rained arrows and fire from above. The project seemed impossible, yet Alexander refused to stop. Because to him, Tyre was no longer a city. It was a test, a challenge to his will, and Alexander could never allow the world to think he could be denied. 7 months later, his forces breached the walls. Tyre fell, and the ancient world watched in disbelief. Alexander had conquered the unconquerable. His legend grew even larger, and his confidence grew with it. After Tyre, Alexander marched south into Egypt. Unlike Persia, Egypt welcomed him, not as a conqueror, but as a liberator. The Egyptians crowned him pharaoh, a living god king. For the first time, Alexander wasn't merely pretending to be extraordinary. People genuinely believed he was divine, and slowly, Alexander began believing it too. Deep within the Egyptian desert stood the Oracle of Siwa, a sacred place where gods supposedly spoke to men. Alexander traveled across deadly sands to reach it. What happened inside remains one of history's greatest mysteries. No record survives, no witness heard the conversation. But when Alexander emerged, he was different, more confident, more ambitious, more certain than ever, as though he had received confirmation of something he desperately wanted to believe, that he was not merely a king, but something greater, and soon he would march toward the heart of Persia itself. toward the battle that would decide the fate of the world. The greatest danger is not believing you can win, but believing you cannot lose. To be continued in Part 3, the battle that changed history.